winky face. But we're meant to just sit there and just say, oh, yeah, stop trolling. It does affect us. We are people. More importantly, it affects our family.
Oh yeah.
It used to affect me more. My mum passed away just over 3 years ago. It used to affect me when my mum used to read it because it upset her. But let's not pretend that this accusation of toxic politics has arisen because some group of independents have formalized and they stand together. What
No.
we do as BCI, Luke, is we stand up for people like you. We stand up
Mm.
for people like Michelle. We stand up for people like Ian. We stand up for people like Chris. It's rough and it's tumble. And
Yeah.
does it overstep the mark on every way? Yes, it does. I don't partake in it. Am I guilty of reacting in a bad way 5 years ago when I thought I could change people's minds on Facebook? Probably.
Oh
Did
yeah.
I honestly tell somebody that I didn't care if blind people got run over? Absolutely no, I didn't. The old me would have gone in and charged in with my thumbs typing, just block the person because their opinion of me doesn't matter. It's not important. They didn't even live in the area. They can't
No.
vote for me. It's not a BCI invention. It's not an independent councillor thing. It's been around in politics. You've
For,
mentioned Tony Blair.
yeah.
Alistair Campbell was a saint, wasn't he?
Oh, lovely.
It's not specific to a party. It's not specific to a movement. It's not specific to anything at all. Politics is a rough and tumble game. It's not pleasant,
No,
and
it's not.
and I'd like to see it less rough and tumble because I honestly believe we'd have more women in there if it was less rough and tumble.
Oh God, yeah.
And there I speak to people in the ward I'm elected to represent to empower them to stand next May, and they won't because of what politics is like.
Oh yes.
And honestly, go back and watch the week in, week out with search Brett X and go and watch Tory Boy. Go and see what the reality of people like Luke, and I deal with my own issues,
Mm.
but good people like Luke who stand up, who set up a Facebook group to try and get other people involved in third tier politics. Look, nobody ever tries to try and get people into
No,
third tier politics. I applaud you for what you're doing.
it's not just getting them in. It's I understand that people don't want to stand because you face a lot of criticism for the slightest little thing, and a lot of people can't take that, and I don't think that. I respect anybody who stands, anybody, because they're going to face something at some point. They're not going to be immune forever. But the group was set up to more inform the public that not sure what us as councillors do or what we're allowed to do or how far we can go. Not just county councils, but more fact community councils, because
Yeah.
a lot of community councils do fantastic, amazing work, and that never gets praised enough on social media.
Until Hanforth Parish Council kicks off, and then
Yeah,
BBC News want to know about it. But
and
that's not the reality.
but it's the same with. I'll say my Steg and Porthcawl town councils. They've had problems over the last couple of years. My Steg and Porthcawl more recently, and my Steg again something more
Yeah.
recently, and that seems to get more attention than the good work of putting a defibrillator up or
Mm-hmm.
putting on these wartime bridge end things or making communities feel better, be more prideful about communities, like Ian Spiller was saying on the weekend, that it's
Mm-hmm.
about bringing pride to your community and making it feel like a home, like a community, rather than somewhere where we live in.
Owen Donovan, you mentioned Oggy Blogger earlier, did a
Yeah.
fantastic piece on the future of community councils. And what community councils have to remember is they're given an amazing opportunity to do good in their community, and they're one process away from being wound up.
Oh yeah.
It's not difficult to get rid of a community council,
Oh
and
no.
if you annoy too many of your residents, you're gone. Don't ever waste that opportunity. Third tier councils have been undervalued for generations. They can achieve so much within the community, and it's so important.
And we spoke about One Voice Wales earlier, and One Voice Wales' ethos is that every community needs a community council because of the work that county councils don't actually do. It's not
Yeah,
just. I think sometimes it is the aesthetic with flower tubs making things.
yeah,
Even in Coity, we put up actuated speed signs
yeah.
for people who were speeding because county council wouldn't do it. So we paid for it. We've had them installed, and you think people might think, well, they're not that great. They just flash when people. Even if we get a few people just slowing down, it could be a few people at that right moment when it's needed.
As mayor of Bridgend Town, I had to finalise our insurance policy, which renewed yesterday. So that happened on Tuesday and Wednesday. We insure 1.2 over 1.2 million pounds of fixed assets
Hmm.
on behalf of the people of Bridgend. 1.2 million pounds worth of assets. Before you get into the kind of small stuff, just think about that. 1.2
Oh
million
yeah,
of public assets on the public's behalf.
oh
That's the
yeah.
good that Bridgend Town Council is doing in our community. Could it do more? It may do more. I mean, again, Owen's piece says about Barry, which I think has 40 members of staff.
It's the
That's
largest town
possible.
council in
It
Wales,
is.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's 50,000 people. I think Bridgenda's got 15,000.
Yeah.
So, pro rata, we're with them on the kind of members of staff per resident. But there's more that can be done. It needs the right people. It needs
Oh yeah.
people in there who want to get stuff done. And stagnating community councils are so frustrating because they can achieve such good in their community, and they are across our borough as well.
Yeah. I feel sorry for some community councils because I think um, Merthyr is very small, so it has a
Yeah,
very very small
going to
budget
get
for.
very big soon.
Yes, it has a very small budget of what it can do, and it's is it Coy Church as well?
Christchurch is quite small as
Is a
well.
small
Christchurch
one
lower, I think.
lower. They have
Yeah.
so they don't have the funds to do
No,
as much as they would love to do, but they do good work with the money they have.
I mean, the
Um,
thing is, I mean, I don't know the details, but what do the residents want? Do they want a community council that charges them £30 a year and does very little, or do they want a community council that charges £100 a year and does a lot?
yeah,
That's for the residents to decide, and they do that through the ballot box, and that's through democratic process. The 5 years I will have served, I can look back on extreme pride. Whatever happens, I'm going to be seeking re-election. It's not within my power. But the 5 years I've served, I'm extortionately proud of to have been part of a group of councillors that wanted to get stuff done and put up the precept twice, but future proofed the council for what's coming. And
yeah.
I'm really proud of that.
As you should be, and as every person who serves on Bridgend Town Council should be. They've done a lot of good work, and
Yeah.
I'm not just saying it's the independents that've done it. You've got Labour on there as well, and they've done good
And
work as well,
Conservative as well,
and
yeah.
Conservative as well. Same
Yeah.
on Coity High, we have Labour and a Lib Dem, and they've done fantastic work, and I
But it's
respect each and every
interesting.
one of them.
It's interesting what you say there because I've gone into our chamber on certain things and I voted in a certain way. Independents within our chamber have voted in a different way to me, and I've been on the wrong side of the result, and I haven't. That's when I've been my happiest
Oh yeah, because that's how it
because
should.
that's everything I believe in. Forget the fact that the vote didn't go my way. The thing that I fundamentally believe in as a person elected is that majority carries,
Yeah,
and 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 that's how it has to be.
and every person who has a vote should be voting their conscience, not what they're told to. And I think there's been an argument recently on Facebook with the great motion that Councillor Penhale Thomas put forward
Yeah,
the other day. And there's been arguments and that, and 4 councillors voted against the motion. And unfortunately, there were 4 councillors from the same
all the Conservatives,
the same
absolutely, yeah.
same party. It, if anybody doesn't know, it was to do with the low means testing or means testing of free school meals in
Yeah.
Bridgend schools or schools in Wales because it's controlled by the Welsh government.
It was a fantastic motion as well.
Oh
Well
yeah,
researched, well put forward, well worded, good motion.
yeah, and also to put a motion against the £20 uplift that's coming
Yeah.
and going. I'm somebody who's on universal credit and I get this £20 uplift. I, it's been a blessing during the pandemic when my son was living with me basically during that time, because he couldn't go back and forth all the time. There was limits on what we could and couldn't do. It was a blessing. It still wasn't enough, because for some reason my son eats like a horse, so which made it difficult. And there were times where we were living on cereal, plain pasta, or peanut butter
Yeah.
sandwiches. It just,
And that's the reality that Ross is addressing.
yeah,
Forget politics. Ross was working for his constituents at
yeah,
that time in their best interests. And thankfully it didn't get in the way. But this is what annoys me. Well, if we use that motion as an example, but let's also
yeah,
talk about the council tax, 3.9%
yeah.
council tax. Are you honestly telling me that every single Labour member who voted for that, that's what they honestly thought?
Well, that's what they believed.
That's what they were told
But
to do.
as the audits that has come out this week, did they know all the facts? That is the other.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But then you look at the block voting annoys me and it offends me.
Yeah,
There has to have been people in those meetings that voiced a different opinion. Yet they're told to go in. Before the 2017 election, I went up to a community council somewhere in the valleys, and I won't name them. But there was a majority group there. You don't have to be a rocket science. We're in the valleys. There was a majority group there, okay? They held a motion. They forgot to take the vote because they'd agreed it in a pre-meeting meeting. So they knew what they were voting for, and they forgot to go through the motion of voting.
yeah,
They looked up, saw me in the public gallery, went, "Oh, hang on, no, hang on, we've got to do that." That should never be allowed. And all right, nobody ever knows. And if I wasn't in the public gallery, nobody would have been in the public gallery.
no,
But councillors, any elected person, councillor, MS, MP, whoever you are, you should be free to vote on behalf of your residents and your conscience, nothing else.
yeah,
That's it. That's fundamentally what I agree with. I've been approached I've been approached to join every major political party there is. I will never vote join, because that would be taken away from me.
yeah,
And we're seeing it evidenced in front of our eyes every time.
yeah. And I think my comments now could hinder getting an interview with Councillor Tom Gifford, who originally.
I don't think he will. I think he'd be big enough to come on.
I hope he is, because I'm not going to attack. I don't attack people on here. We talk about things where we talk about annoyances on with other things. Yeah, fine, fair enough. But the main purpose, as I said, is gaining an understanding of what people actually do.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people don't have a clue. We see it on forums all the time. Well, this is what the county council should be doing, or the community council. No, community council can't do that. That's county's responsibility, and vice versa. So I think more information for people, the more informed they can be to make a complete choice when it comes time to vote. Because they're more informed, they're maybe more likely to vote. Because historically, especially on community councils, the vote turnout is historically low.
Awful.
Very low. But I can't sit here and think those 4 Conservative councillors honestly believed, personally, that forget the uplift part, because I think that's a national thing. That's fair enough. Community councillors, don't get involved with that. Yes, put your motions and write to the Parliament, fair enough. But we live in Wales. The Welsh Assembly government deal with free school meals. And that's what the main point of this motion was. And Councillor Penhale Thomas wrote it extremely well researched and thought out. I can't see how any one of them, 4 councillors, yes, they may have a personal opinion, but when it comes to a group on the same party, that not one of them thought, yes, we need to raise the level of the cost of free school meals in line with what England, Scotland, Northern Ireland have, because Wales has one of the lowest.
And let's credit the local Labour group for criticising the Welsh Labour administration in Welsh government.
Yes, well done for them.
Let's congratulate them and credit them for doing that. That's a surprise. That's great. But on the flip side, there must have been Labour councillors who thought that they didn't want to vote for it. They
community.
should be free to
Yeah,
vote the other way with the Conservatives, but it's just
I will congratulate any councillor who stands up to do what's best, what they feel is best for their constituency, not their party. Last week,
well. Let's not forget why Ross is actually an independent now, because that's
yeah,
exactly what he did
I
6 years ago.
spoke to Ian about that last week, and I spoke about
Yeah,
Mayor Spanswick, who stood up for Save the Fields,
absolutely.
which was
Which was a brave thing to do.
brave thing to do. Unfortunately, he wasn't there for the vote because he was unwell at the time,
Extremely, yes.
and I'm glad he's a lot better now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
But that was a brave thing to do, to step out
yeah,
and say no on behalf of my community. No.
no, it's David Lewis and Janice Lewis, when the Tondy Housing Development both voted no
Yeah.
against that because it's not what their community wanted. Whether their party wanted, they stood up, and I'll applaud anybody who does that, who goes against the party. But that they should be doing that anyway. It shouldn't
Of
be
course they should.
party above constituents. It should be constituents above party.
Absolutely.
So this
So what? We're an hour and 50 in. Do you want to do the Senate campaign now, or do you want to schedule another one?
well, I'll say this now. I'm looking like I won't be standing for Litchard in the next round of council elections.
That's a shame.
One, I'm not sure if I could anyway, because I haven't lived in Bridgend for the last 3 years. I'm just outside Incomer.
Yeah.
Because that was where I could live. That was the reason. I'm coming back to Bridgend, hopefully, if the council can sort it. Still not had a phone call back about that yet. By the beginning of next month, hopefully, because I've got 13 days to find somewhere to live. But
Okay.
I know there is a provision that if you've worked in an area for the last year, like living in the area, you can stand. But I don't know whether that will include as a community councillor or not.
No, it's an interesting question, is that?
It's something that I may ask, but at this present time, I'm leaning that I may not be standing. I think I'm about 70-80% sure I won't be standing, which would be a real shame. I've enjoyed working on Coity Community Council. There's a lot of work still left to be done, a lot of amazing work. We're looking into bringing more allotments to the area and other things, especially with the community centre in Litchard and things like that.
Yeah.
And I've worked with some amazing people: Martin, Alan, Kerry Evans, Alison Hughes, Dean Barrington, Councillor Richard Young.
Yeah, great guy.
Christopher Warburton, Cherry and Anita. They've all been amazing. But I've got to credit the staff and Harris and Phil. I can't remember his last name at this moment. I've known him for 4 years. I can't remember his last name. Without community councils, without the fantastic staff, these are the clerks, the RFOs, and anybody else who works for him, us as councillors wouldn't get anything done.
No, absolutely not.
Really.
No.
And they are the backbone of our council. They research a hell of a lot of stuff for us, find out things that we may not have time, because community councils,
absolutely.
Yes, you can get a remuneration, and it's not much. It's roughly about £150, varies from council to council, for 1 year.
I think it's £2.88 a week it works out at.
Yeah. So
before tax.
People like Steve and that, I was a carer when I first started, so I had that. It's not something we can do as a full-time job, because you can't do it because there's no pay in it.
Yeah.
So people have to have the work. That's why we have to rely on clerks and RFOs and other people to do the hard graft for us, I suppose, and we get all the glory at the end.
To deliver the will of the council as well.
Yeah.
Councils make decision and then the staff go away and deliver that. And that's where that relationship is so important. You've got to have a close working relationship. You've got to be on the same page. I
would love to do this sort of thing with clerks of councils as well.
More difficult.
I know, because I think they do fantastic work, and not even us as councillors understand everything that they do. No. And it would be good, even us, so we can see.
I've been Mayor of Bridgend Town Council since January. I'm still learning stuff now. So it's not, it's not easy. There's so many regulations.
Yes, and there's so many
It's
things we can fall foul of as a council.
yes, and it's our duty to make sure we don't fall foul of them.
Yes,